It is now my pleasure to introduce the 2008 National Teacher of the Year. Michael Geisen. The National Teacher of the Year program, sponsored by the Council of Chief State School Officers, is the oldest, most prestigious national honors program for teachers. It's a great way to remind the American people how important good teachers really are and the tremendous contributions that they make to our children every single day. One reason we become educators is that we all remember a special teacher who made an impact on our lives. Michael is that kind of teacher. He is constantly looking for new ideas about how he can help to introduce students to science, because he knows that children learn best when the creative parts of their brain are engaged. He knows that if he can personalize his lessons and make them relevant to the people in his community, they will have more of an impact. Most important of all, he knows that learning should be fun, that it's possible for children to learn and laugh at the same time. This is what great teaching is all about. Unfortunately, it is also what gets lost in the obsession with high-stakes testing that is the byproduct of so-called No Child Left Behind. Michael has been courageous in speaking up about the problems with this law. He has realized that his recognition as a National Teacher of the Year put him in a unique position to try to change the law for the better, and he has done just that. When speaking up, even when speaking up, this brother went to the White House, and flanked on one side was the president, and flanked on the other side was the Secretary of Education. This cat, with people flanked on both sides, he said that he thought that something needed to change with No Child Left Behind. Now, you know, when a brother does that, he has to have some courage. Between the president and the Secretary of Education, he had the audacity in their presence to say that something was wrong. Now, I am so honored and I am so pleased to introduce to you the brother who had the president on this side and the Secretary of Education on this side. He said something needs to be done with No Child Left Behind because it's not working. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for the Teacher of the Year from the state of Oregon, Mr. Michael Geisen, my man. My man.
Thank you. Hang on a second, I gotta make sure my cell phone's off. Okay, we're good.
My man! All right!
Hey, it's good to be here. Thanks, Reg. Oh man, it's just like being in my classroom, you know, a lot of good energy, people heading for the door. This is good. A little chaos. It's good. It's good. My class size way too big. But we're gonna make it work today. We'll make it work. I'm thrilled to be able to represent the millions of great teachers in the United States. I think there's one reason I'm here today: shameless self-promotion. I'm kidding. Actually, I do feel like this position has kind of fallen into my lap this year, and I'm going to take it and run with it. And I'm thrilled to represent each of you. And I'm here actually really because I have a creative way of just caring for human beings. And I think it's my students that have allowed me to be here today. So I'm thrilled to be here. My life has changed pretty dramatically since I became National Teacher of the Year. I get to meet all these important people and the media and travel. I hear quotes at home like, "Dad who?" Which makes the guy feel pretty good. But wherever I go, though, I'm still learning, I'm still creating, and I'm still teaching. And I'm thrilled to be able to do that today. Air travel has become sort of the new lens in which I see the world. And so now everything I think about somehow relates to air travel, because I'm constantly on the road and in the air. It's sad but true. So today I want to talk about air travel. And education a little bit too. We'll get there. My son, Aspen, when he was 4 years old, we got on an airplane in our little town of Redmond in Central Oregon. And Oregon, thank you, yeah. Shameless self-promotion. The mental note, say Oregon a lot. Okay, Aspen, yeah. We got on the plane, and my 4-year-old son, Aspen, he looked out the window. We have a really small airport. We're on one of those little prop planes, with propellers and the wings that are on top of the fuselage, and he looks out the window, and he's starting to look a little nervous. And finally, he flags down one of the flight attendants. And he says, "Excuse me, miss, before we take off, I just want to check on something real quick. Does this plane have wings?" And that's a good question. I felt like my plane has not had wings this year. It's been more like a rocket. But I'm trying to see the world through a child's eyes, and I think that's really where we need to be coming from as educators. I find myself in airports actually looking for children, and I miss my kids, and so I find myself wanting to just kind of grab kids and like pick them up and hug them. I know that's probably a really bad idea. So I refrain, but it's hard. But trying to see the airlines through a child's eyes is difficult when you start traveling so much, and we get so familiar with something, we don't really have the same viewpoint. I've been traveling so much that I've been turning down cranberry juice. I never thought I would. I mean, I could never understand how people could turn down free cranberry juice coming down the aisle, and people would say, "Oh, no thanks." Just last week, I turned down my first cranberry juice. And I was going to have the healthiest urinary tract in education this year. And I just like, no, 2 glasses is enough. I got to call it quits. But I'm excited about the amount of travel I get to do, and I think what's unique about this year for me is that I get to see the world of education from 30,000 feet up. As I fly around the country and travel and speak and meet with people from all over, I have a unique chance to have an amazing perspective on education while still remaining with my feet on the ground, in the classroom, with where things are really happening. Just last week I was in Austin at a national policy convention, and Secretary Spellings was there and gave the keynote address at breakfast one morning. And she said the following statement: "We can't water down our accountability system with fancy sounding words like authentic assessment or multiple measures. This is what the view from 30,000 feet looks like for her. What does it look like on the ground? Well, it looks a little different. At the ground level, I see that teaching and learning is a highly complex and multifaceted endeavor. but yet we're being judged on a very narrow set of standards. At the ground level, I see my student, Abby, who last spring was abused and is having panic attacks on a regular basis at school, but wants to be there. And so myself and other students would take her outside our classroom and sit with her and allow her to hyperventilate until she would fall asleep on our shoulder. At the ground level, I see Tony having a hard time staying awake in class because he's not getting enough sleep at home because home is the back seat of his parents' car. But yet he comes in at lunch every day to hang out, talk about music, because he sees that I have a safe place, a place where he's cared about. At the ground level, I see Jed, who struggles with ADHD, and as he's gone through high school now, he's had some run-ins with the legal system, but yet he has been inspired to become a teacher and teach science. That's progress. At the ground level, I see Lorena, who is absent 2 or 3 days a week because she's home caring for her siblings. But when she comes to school, she helps out her Latino classmates who are still struggling with English. That's success. At the ground level, I see Andy, whose dad just this year was arrested for abuse. Andy has been an emotional roller coaster. His test scores are low. He's failing his classes. But he has an incredible ability to build and to design, and he has an incredible future in that, if we can see it and value it. At the ground level, I see Aiden. He's a 7th grader who's got the brain of a graduate student, but yet he's struggling to find a way to express himself creatively in a public school system that doesn't value that enough. These students may look like identical little ants from 30,000 feet up, but these are unique and beautiful human beings. These fellow human beings of ours have unique passions and desires and skills that are going to help them be successful. I have no doubt that these students will be successful in the world. The question is, will we help them get there or hinder them? If our assessments are not authentic, if they're not multiple measures, if they're not relevant, then what are we really measuring? Instead of trying to quantify how intelligent are you, maybe we should be asking the question, how are you intelligent? And valuing that. What's tough, though, is that as teachers, that most of us don't get that 30,000-foot view. We're only really personally responsible for a very small, local level, whether it's our classroom or our school or our district, perhaps. Secretary Spellings and others who are really trying to make education better for our students don't have that ground level view. They're also responsible for 50 million students. That's a class size that's a little too big for me. But the question is what do we do with that? They don't have the luxury of small scale like we do. The key here is that we need to be educators. We need to worry not just about educating our students, but educating the public, educating policymakers. We are teachers. We need to build the bridges of communication and not burn them. We need to be bold, but not brash. We need to be constructive, not critical. We need to be teachers. My little airport in Redmond, Oregon. Ooh, you're getting slow. Come on. That was a lag time, man. Wake up back there, Oregon. Come on. Yeah, this is like my classroom. We have a really small airport. There's one gate. It's nice. I like it. It's small, it's personal, it's efficient. Despite all of the federal regulations that we still have to go through there, it's a beautiful place. Let me give you an example. I was standing in line at the TSA security checkpoint a couple weeks ago, and this elderly gentleman was there I don't think he'd traveled since maybe the 70s. This poor guy, he was flustered. I have to take off my belt, you know, and he's taking shoes off, and he's not sure where to go, and his bag goes through the security screening device, and the agent pulls out a large pocket knife. Large pocket knife. And he says, "Sir, you know, you just can't take that on a plane these days, you know." And, "Oh, okay." And he's just frazzled, the poor guy. It was awful. And he said, "Well, I'm going to have to confiscate the knife, you know, and this is a special knife for this guy, I could tell." The agent decided, you know what, just tell you what, wait here, sir, wait here. He ran over to the checked baggage screening area, found this gentleman's suitcase, put it in the suitcase for him so it would be there when he got to his destination for him. Yeah. And isn't that what we do every day in the classroom? We're dealing with federal regulations that sometimes make it tough to do that, but we need to go the extra step, just like that individual did. Then I get on the plane, and I've become a student now in the last several weeks of airline safety presentations. I love them. I'm the only one who's paying attention, but I love them. I get a kick out of these things. But what's interesting, though, is that I look around and I think, man, this is a lot like education. Nobody's listening, you know? They're sitting there trying to get their last little text message in before class starts or whatever, you know, and it's just crazy. No one's listening. There's no differentiation depending on whether you've been on a plane 1,000 times or this is your first trip. Is there? No. They're teaching skills that are slightly outdated, like how do you put on a seatbelt? Hello? You know? They're teaching things that you're probably never going to use in the future. Just in case. Just in case you might need the quadratic formula someday, we better teach it to everybody. No offense to math folks out there. But, well, to put it in perspective, how many have used the quadratic formula in the last 25 years? Really? Okay, math, yes, math teachers are raising their hand right now. Yeah. But just in case you might need it. There's no accountability with airline safety procedures. It's drill and kill. They just drill it into you as many times as possible. How many times have you actually had a chance to remove the seat cushion? I was on a flight last week, and they said it was a bigger plane and a newer one. And they said, your seat cushion may be used as a flotation device, or it was some seat cushions may be used as a flotation device. God, I hope I got one of those seats. I mean, dang, it's a boat anchor, you know? Where's the authentic assessment there? I learn a lot. As a teacher, we need to be constant students, and you learn a lot from various places. And whether I'm in the classroom or not, I'm learning, and then I'm taking that and teaching. Just last week, actually, a flight attendant on one of our little planes out of Redmond spiced it up a little bit. She was acting out stuff, you know, and when it came time to the no smoking on the plane, she was... Okay, and it was great, you know, and it was a kick. It instantly created community on the plane. She was chatting with people nearby, instantly created community, and people started to remember these things. Now, how do you take that to scale? A little more difficult, but I recall flying, I think it was Southwest several years ago, and boy, they had a pretty good bit going. I remember they had one line that I still remember that went something like this: in the unlikely event of a loss of cabin pressure, oxygen masks will hopefully drop from the ceiling to assist you. Affix your own mask first, and then assist those of the children nearby, starting with the child that you love the most. Okay? Hilarious. Okay? It's good stuff. Why do we remember that? Because it was creative, because it was unique, because it was something different. Does it still fulfill the law? Yes. but it's something new, it's something unique, and I still remember it. They also said there was 2 smoking areas located on the plane, one on each wing. I mean, and this was like years ago, you know, and I still remember it. Why? Because it was good teaching. Because it was good teaching. How do we take it to scale, though, in public education? That's another story, and a difficult story. It's not something, you know, quality personal service like that is not something you can legislate from the top down. It has to come from the roots. It has to be a grassroots effort, but not alone. It's got to have sunshine and rain and carbon dioxide, don't forget that, science teacher, sorry, from above. It's got to be a partnership of the grassroots with support and a supportive environment coming from above. It needs to grow in a way that shapes policy by actually practicing it. This is what we do at our middle school where I teach. Teachers, students, administrators, we all work together. Novel idea, to make students feel welcome, to make students excited about being at school, and to help them achieve in the 21st century. As a teaching community, we need to be holding ourselves accountable. Talk about accountability, we need to have the accountability amongst ourselves. We should be the ones doing rigorous, authentic assessment. We should be the ones using multiple measures, and if the federal government is not going to formally value that yet, we need to publicize those results, whatever they might be, to the public, to our parents, to our students, to each other. We need to hold each other accountable, folks. It's not about us waiting around for somebody else to hold us accountable. We need to step up and do it ourselves. It's time to throw open the doors of our classroom. We need to throw those doors open to our colleagues, to the community, to the stakeholders that have a part in our students' education. Throw those doors open and be transparent about what we're doing in public schools, what we need, what our challenges are, what our successes are. We need to innovate together, not stagnate alone. We need to collaborate on solutions and not whine about the problems. We need to educate the public, not just our students. We need to either lift our heads up from the ground or get our heads out of the clouds, both of those, and meet somewhere in the middle so we can design and truly start to implement an educational experience for our kids that is meaningful and rich and realistic. What it comes down to is that we need to be teachers. Thank you.
Come on, come on. Come on, NEA, give it up. Teacher of the Year, my man Michael. Science teacher. Wouldn't you like to have him as your child's teacher? That's right. That's right. Give it up to him. Give it to him. Go ahead. All right.